Hi, I've got my knife flying very nicely line of sight, so now it's time to fit up a bit of FPV gear. The first thing I'm going to do is mount up my Mobius camera to it. Now, there is you get with the knife a mounting plate, and the Mobius comes with a bit of Velcro, so the first thing I've done is fitted the Velcro so the Mobius can attach very happily to the plate. Okay, so now the plate needs to attach to the nose of the airframe, and we have our 4 isolation mounts, and we've also got a strap. Now, the tricky part of the strap is it needs to go sort of on almost before you do the arms, because it needs to sit at the back here. So I'm going to put that on before I do the next bit, which is take my 4 isolation balls and fit them, and they go into these 4 holes here. Grab your plate, sit it over the top. Pretty obvious which 4 holes they go on to. So I'm just going to fit these, which is minorly tricky, but what I find the easiest way for me to do them is to just feed one sort of corner through, grab a hold with just with my fingernails, and pull the rest of it through the mounting holes. So 1, 2, 3. This obviously would be a lot easier if I took the props off, but you know, we're all a bit lazy, aren't we? Titch. I have actually taken the base plate off. I've got a sneaking suspicion every time I go to work on this I'll be pulling the base plate off. Alright, so 4 isolation balls in place. I'm going to move the strap behind those for the moment. Sit this over the top, and again it's the same process. Get one corner of the ball through, grab a hold and pull. One corner through, get in there. Try and avoid using tools for this, but I have used a hemostat to do it just to make it a little easier, particularly on the 8 balls, because they're a bit close together and you do sort of start tripping over yourself by the time you start trying to do too many of these all close together. But here we go. Okay, cool. And then what we want to do is just place our band, our compression band, across the back. And really that's just intended to sort of just pull the back down a little. Alright, give it a bit of tilt up. And then my Mobius just goes straight onto the isolation mount, and we're good to go. Cool. Now, with the 6-inch props, be aware there isn't a lot of clearance on that. It's probably 1 millimetre each side. So you will want to be very careful when you sit your Mobius on if you run the 6-inch props. 5-inch props won't be a problem. And probably the 5-inch triples probably give you a bit better video quality anyway. But there you go. That's it with the 6-inch props. The next thing you'll want to do is take the video loom that came with your Mobius. Right, that plugs into the back of the camera. Turn off, please. Alright, leave it on. And the power leg, the red and white leg, can you see that there? The red and black leg, that plugs into one of the spare servo outputs on the back of the Paris Air. Once we move the trigger output out of the way, and that will provide 5 volts power to the Mobius in flight. Alright, plugs in there, marvellous. And then if you take this loom that I made in another video, you've got a video socket for the video lead, and that then plugs into the JST coming off the loom and the mini video transmitter. Now, as you can see, that loom as it sits there is a bit ungainly. So what I'll do before I actually tidy all this up and fit it all up is I'm actually going to remove this outer insulation. I'll pull the loom back off so you can see it. I'm going to remove this outer insulation, probably very close back to the connector, so I can run these different wires to the places I want them to go better. So from the Mobius, the red one goes into the back of the air just to supply you with 12 volt power. Now, one thing I noticed is the 12 volt pin here is on the outside. You'll need to move that to the inside pin to actually get power to that, because the power pin's on the center. That will be a signal pin. So I'm just going to do that now. Just a little knife, let's pop up the tab, move the red wire to the center. So that's now power for the Mobius sorted. And the only thing left to do is the video transmitter. And basically, I've made myself up a little spacer here. I actually stole a spare 6mm prop adapter and I've folded it down a little thinner and just run a reamer through it so it sits over the thread of the T adapter on the right angle adapter on the video transmitter. And then it's a matter of finding the right convenient hole in the top plate to stick that up through. And then we screw the antenna on, and that will hold the video transmitter very neatly in place. Now, you're going to need to, if you do bother with doing this little spacer plate I've done, make sure when you do it, you've got to file it. It's too thick when you grab a new one off the props. They come too thick. So what I've had to do is make it thinner. I've just run it over the surface of a file for a little while, and you know you're okay because you've actually got a little bit of play here. You want to make sure that this connector for the antenna is still screwing fully onto the right angle adapter. You don't want it to be partially screwed in, or you could blow the video transmitter. So that's the VTX in place. I've got my little loom I've already made up. I'm just going to have to cut up this lead a bit and loom it all up, but that's now my FPV gear fitted up. If you didn't want to use the Mobius and wanted to use a fixed camera, I would simply mount it to the underside of the nose inside there, still with the VTX in the same spot, and that would power off the JST loom. I showed you how to do that loom in another video on the video transmitter itself. So there you go. That is a fully FPV and Mobius recording knife ready to go. I just got to put the base plate back on. Sort of a bit like pulling the hood off the car, really. Take the hood off, work on the engine, put the hood back on. Except in this case, the hood is the base plate. Catch you guys online.